Barcelona and Real Madrid, El Clásico, you know the name of the game. In a match that was dominated by Barcelona a season ago, the calendar and the season has changed, and so with 2 points separating these two at the top of the Liga table, they're still all worth playing for and all worth caring about. Welcome to episode 740 of the Barcelona podcast, brought to you by the Blue Wire Podcast Network. I'm Dan Hilton, and I know you may have just heard me with Jack on the football weekend. That show is on the feed. It's on the YouTube channel. It's also on his channel, all those things. So give him a follow, give him a subscribe, and do the same thing here on the YouTube channel or in the podcast apps, and help me out on Patreon to continue to make these shows. And you also get these shows without the ads over there on Patreon for as low as $3. But most importantly, please join me on BigUp.com this weekend. We're going to play a fun fantasy game. As we enjoy the watch along for El Clásico, we can get in the chat, have some fun with me. But for now, it's still preview time, and yesterday's talk was a bit long-winded. Today, we're getting right into the details, right into things that matter. So let's dive into that preview. First, let's talk about the big stars and the big moments. El Clásico, as I am the romantic at heart, it's so often decided by the stars. We know that Lionel Messi, Cristiano Ronaldo, and now the new generation of Kylian Mbappe, Lamine Yamal, it's Pedri versus Jude Bellingham, or Raul Asensio versus himself. That last one's a little bit of a joke, but you know the stars in this game. Pedri could have a masterclass, Barcelona wins. Lamine Yamal could get a goal, deliver an assist. Kylian Mbappe can beat Kylian Mbappe, whether at the penalty spot or in open play. It could be a Jude Bellingham game. We know the stars that exist for both of these sides, and they very well could decide it. But this time around, I will say it does feel like a matchup that will be decided with a battle of the two managers, Hansi Flick and Xabi Alonso. Oddly enough, Flick will not be on the sideline for El Clásico due to his red card, but his team does know how to beat Real Madrid under Flick, as they did it 4 times last season. And while Hansi Flick will be missing, both of these teams could be missing some vital players that will make this new flavor El Clásico feel like it's a bit unsatisfied. Dean Houston is expected to be fully fit for Madrid, and the two right-backs in Danny Carvajal and Trent Alexander-Arnold are expected to at least be on the bench. Barca does have a stomach bug heading through the squad, though things are changing every hour. Right now, at the moment, it's conquered Andres Christensen and Frankie de Jong. Both could be fit, but it has at least affected their preparation before this match. Rafinha and Ferran Torres, on the bright side of things, have received the medical green light, and they could be X factors in this match if Flick chooses not to start them. And things really do change if they are available to start. Joan Garcia is still unfortunately out for Barcelona, and Antonio Rudiger is also out for the next few months for Real Madrid. That said, both squads are generally decently healthy, so for both these fan bases, there's no excuses. Let's do lineups next, because who actually starts this match, I think, dictates a bit of the tactics. Both managers, yes, will have their ideas, but both of these managers will choose their 11s based on the way that they choose to go. For Barcelona, I have Tech or Szczesny in net. It's Balde, Cubarsí, Araujo, and Eric Garcia at your back four, Pedri, De Jong, and Castro in the midfield, and then Fermin, Rashford, Lamine Yamal up top. Huge choice is who Flick chooses between Araujo, Koundé, Eric, and where he would put them along the back line. Eric at center back and Koundé at right back isn't as good defending in space, but is your best option passing out of pressure. Araujo Eric gives you a bit of both of the good stuff, but Eric on the wing against Vini Jr. is a concern, and Araujo Koundé is the least press resistant, but physically the best and the most stout at the back. That decision by Hansi Flick as to which of these two he starts in this match could very well decide the match. For Real Madrid, I have Courtois in net. Yeah, I think that's a good choice there. Paredes, Husin, Militao, and Valverde at the back. Tchouaméni, Güler, and Bellingham in the middle, and Vini Jr., Mbappe, Mastantuono up top. Their lineup also hinges on the health of Houston and the right backs. If Carvajal or Alexander-Arnold is totally healthy, you put them in at right back and move Valverde into the midfield. Then it's a triangle up top with Bellingham underneath Vini Jr. and Mbappe, supported by the 3 midfielders. If Houston isn't totally ready to start, then you throw Raul Asensio in there, and I will try to contain my excitement getting Raul Asensio in space against Lamine Yamal or Marcus Rashford. Now that we've established the lineups, let's talk about those tactics. My big question from this matchup usually is about the wings, but this time it's just about which team will be more proactive and, like always, take advantage of those chaotic moments. For all the world-class players around, neither team has been great as a pressing unit this season. If it is Fermin, Rashford, Lamine, and Vini Jr., Mbappe, Mastantuono, only one of those 6 being Fermin, and then some Mastantuono, but not always, gives me a ton of confidence to put in a full shift on the defensive side of the ball to lead the press. If Barca aren't under pressure from Madrid, they are the heavy favorites in this match. If Barcelona's backline is not under pressure from Real Madrid, I really do like their chances and think they're actually heavy favorites to win this match. On the other side, if Barca do struggle to press or Houston is starting, I think both those things are possible, Real Madrid could make life miserable for the Catalans, and this could go entirely in the opposite direction. Arda Güler has really taken that step forward this season, being the connective piece between the midfielders and the forwards for Madrid, and his end product is something to worry about for culés. We know that Madrid want to play vertically, and a lack of pressure from Barca's front three will have all the pundits screaming at the risk of a high line, as oversimplified as that is. We know that Hansi Flick is going to be dogmatic and stick with that high line. I don't expect Barcelona to be in any mid-block, or they won't even do what Atletico Madrid to beat Real Madrid 5-2 and drop with 5 at the back. That would be pretty absurd for Barcelona to try to do and change all their tactics at this point. Yeah, maybe Hansi Flick would throw something crazy like that, but I don't think it's going to be the case. I think that Hansi Flick is just going to say, we need that pressure up top. And if we don't get that, we're going to be in trouble. My real matchup key for Barcelona, and why my hot take is that Rashford and Houston are secretly the most important players in this match, is how Barcelona takes advantage of the space on the wings. Alonso likes to have Carreras tuck inside from left back, and Valverde drifts infield naturally as the right back. So there is some space for Barca to attack if they can absorb the pressure when that happens. That's a big if, but I do love some of the things we saw against Olympiacos in the best moments. Wasn't always great, but that idea that Barcelona's going to have numerical overloads on the left between Fermin Lopez, Rashford, who likes to come from the left, and Balde, and then the other side, where in theory, a numerical overload on the left side gets you Lamine Yamal 1v1 in space. I love that idea for Barcelona to attack Real Madrid that way. This will also mean some diagonals will be necessary, and not just from Kubarsi, but also from your keeper in Chesney. He has got to bring his passing boots, or again, Barcelona will have some trouble playing out of pressure. I do expect that the midfield of Madrid will man-mark Pedri and De Jong, as teams have figured out to do, likely with Bellingham and Tchouaméni. And how Pedri and De Jong can dribble their way and find their ways free are a huge part of how Barcelona are going to have to control this match. If Rashford is playing as a 9, or as a false 9, whatever you want to call it, he's going to have to drop in and help to overload the middle of the park as another outlet. He didn't really do that well against Girona, so he's going to have to do it well against Real Madrid if they have a chance. You don't want to bring Fermin too far in to do that job because A, that hold-up play isn't really his game, and B, I think Balde should have a little more support on the left if he's going to be so high positionally. I did just throw a lot of tactics at you right there, so I hope at least you remembered 1 or 2 of those points when something happens in this match. X Factors time. Let's talk about X Factors. Who will be the X Factors in El Clásico? I already mentioned Lamine Yamal, not really an X Factor. Mbappe, who's scoring goals both at the penalty spot and in open play. Yeah, again, not really an X Factor, but there are some out there. 18-year-old Franco Mastantuono, who I've been mentioning, he's in my starting 11, but Alonso could also go with a more experienced Brahim Diaz on the right wing as another X Factor even coming off the bench later in the game. They are very different players, but both X Factors to note. Same goes for Joe Fernandez and Rooney Bardghji, but more likely it's just Bardghji, and that's only if Rafinha and Ferran Torres aren't actually ready to come off the bench as the first subs. Barca's bench does have less proven commodities for a game like this, but I do think a lot of it comes down to the choices that Flick makes with his starting 11. So for me, I think the first 15-20 minutes is where I'll either be calm or worried for the entire 90. All that said, I think Balde is also somebody that we're not really talking about as the big X factor that he is that could decide this match, but I think he's finding his form coming back from a little bit of that injury bug, and he could really hurt that space on Madrid's right side if Valverde goes looking to win those second balls in the center of the park. Balde's ability to dribble through traffic and create numerical mismatches has been awesome when Barca are flying high, and why I would say he might be the biggest X factor or unknown in this game going forward if Madrid can't figure him out. Those are my picks, but I would love to know who are your X factors for this game. And you can even let me know. Am I out of line by saying it's Houston and Rashford that could potentially decide this match? Should I just say that it's going to be Pedri or Bellingham or Mbappe or Lamine Yamal? Again, let me know. And now for our score positions, I wouldn't say I really like, but I kind of like Barcelona's chances in this version of El Clásico. It feels like 2 flawed teams with sky-high potential who could be very different the next time they meet. I hate that Joan Garcia is out of this game. I think I would say that Barcelona are my favorites for this matchup if he was healthy. And even if it is at the Bernabeu, I still actually just narrowly like Barcelona's chances. So I'm going 3-2 in this one in favor of the visiting side. I think Barcelona's ability to exploit the space is better than any team that Madrid has seen so far this season. And I know goals will happen in this game. But I also like the resiliency that Barcelona's teams have had. And yes, they have not been up to some other matches. But if they play the way they played even against PSG, against Real Madrid, I think they get a positive result, believe it or not. So Again, I'm going 3-2 Barcelona for this version of El Clásico. Again, please join me on Sunday on Big Up for the watch along. We're going to have that fantasy lineup game there, and we're going to have plenty of fun. And then don't go too far. Go back to the podcast afterwards, or go to the YouTube channel, or both, and check out the 5 headlines, because, of course, I will have those after this matchup, which, again, hopefully Barcelona is on their winning end of. And until then, as always, Forza Barca.